Good morning, class. How are you guys? Mr. Patrick, Miss Kaitlyn, other Mr. Patrick. So today we're going to be continuing our lesson on volleying and maintaining possession. As you guys can see on the board here, we're still working on our three types of hits: the bump, the set, and the spike. Underneath all three are three cues for you guys to know. So for example, I'm just going to show you guys the bump that we're going to be practicing with Pat. I want you guys to bend your knees, shoulder width apart, slight bend in the knees. You guys want to have a flat wrist, hands cupped together here. You're going to lead with the shoulder. So if the ball comes out to my right or to my left, I want to lead with my shoulder with it. So Pat, you can jump over here. I'm just bumping right there on my forearms. Ready? One more time. Then out here, just bumping back toe tip. And with the set, I want you guys to be underneath the ball, light touch with the fingertips, just popping up the ball. Just think of popcorn, just light pop up. So Pat, I want you to toss the ball high in the air for me. Thank you. Light tap with the fingertips. One more time. Once you get underneath it, right here, all the way underneath the ball, tap, light, up. Any questions on these? Perfect. Pat?
Excellent. So we're going to use both the bump and the set, and we're going to play a little game called hot potato. So what I want to start with is you four get in this little square here. You three get in this little square here. I'm going to give you a one ball here. Okay. When you hear the music start, listen up. When you hear the music start, you're going to get the ball up. You are only allowed to use set and bump. That is it. When you hear the music stop, whoever has the ball has a consequence. So right now that could be 2 jumping jacks, it could be 2 push-ups, whatever it might be. So I want you to think closely about how quick you want to do your set and how quick you want to do your bump. Are you ready? Go! Fantastic. Abs and Haley and Abs, I want you to be 2 jumping jacks, please. Okay? Just as a reminder, if you're the one who makes the bump or you're the one who makes the set as the music goes off, you are then the one who does the punch. If your bump or set hits the ground, that's when I want you to do the consequence. Try it as best you can in your groups to keep the ball in the air. You understand? Understood.
Okay, one observation about that, be very careful when it comes to do a consequence where the consequence is an exercise. It can give the wrong message that exercising can be punishment. It's true that 2 jumping jacks is something simple, but at the same time, this can count as singling out. And students could be very sensitive when it comes to that, so you perhaps want to stay away from that.
You are not allowed to stand still. I want you to constantly move. You're moving, you could be walking. You cannot, no Alexi being you on little 4x4 square. I want you to move anywhere you want within your cone off area. Got it? Go!
Alright, so demonstration needed to be a little bit more specific. It was there, the demonstration was there.
Alright, let's do this, guys. Let's get over here. Get underneath the ball for that set. Fingertips.
In this case, it's more about setting the ball to your classmate. So it's more about direction. That's the cue that I don't necessarily hearing.
One quick question. What have you noticed has happened when I told you you cannot stand still?
It's more difficult. It's got harder to keep the ball up.
Okay, it's got harder to keep the ball up. So what have we got to concentrate on?
Communication.
Communication is one. Accuracy is one. Think behind me. Keep an eye on the ball.
That is true.
Think behind me. Think about your sets. Think about your bumps. Think about those cues now. Think about bending those knees. That every time I'm saying somebody rush, you run into that. There's no, you're not very sure that your knees set, you bend in, your arms are together. Think about the quality in your bump and the quality in your set. Got it? 2 more turns. Hey! Nice, what's that?
Yeah, I see what you're doing. You know, the syntax is okay, but it's mostly a reminder at utilization level. With the movement that is taking place, is more. You see that they're even struggling with keeping that ball so it's set for the partner. See, when all over the place, and then they have to run and get it. So it's more about what to do to adapt to that type of circumstance in the game situation.
Right at your chest level, okay? Right up here. Thank you.
You see, that is incomplete. Why is incomplete? Because it's more about the direction. That is what happened at a control level. To make it complete, then you just have to say that one of the arms needs to come up, so there's going to be some type of a shift in the arms. They're still going to be that flat because now you are directing the ball. The same thing with the torso. You know, you have to move somewhat in that direction just to set the ball. So that is what is required here. That's the demand, and the demand requires for that cue to be, for example, you can say, just remember, tilt your arm. Remember, direct it to your opponent, not right in front of you, but to the side. Tilt it. Still keep the flat surface, but tilt it towards your partner.
Last 2 times, except now, you're going to go against each group. Okay? So the ball has to go from one half to the other. If it hits the ground, when the music stops, it's whoever played the pass, or if Harvey plays the pass and it hits the ground in front of Missy, he's Harvey's punishment. You understand? The aim of the game is to keep the ball up nice and high for the opposition. Questions?
So we're hitting it to them.
To them.
Okay.
Ready?
We're doing 2 balls?
Yep, 2 balls.
Just chaos.
Ready?
Talk.
Yes, sir.
Out, Missy and coach back the ball. Oh my goodness. 2 jumping jacks each, please. Okay, so what have you noticed in our left side there? What's the difference now?
We didn't pass at all. Just hitting it back.
Okay, so you didn't volley it on, you hit it back and forth. Did I say that you can't play to each other?
No.
So it's okay to set. That's what a set is, right? What haven't you done? Okay, we haven't spiked, but if he hits the ground, this is your punishment. What do you think to make this exercise that much better?
A net?
Could be. I'm thinking more of a word that begins with C. Communication. Fantastic. That if the ball goes between Alexi and Eric, and if Alexi says my ball, there's no confusion. He can then get the ball, he can pass, he can set, he can bump it up over. Got it? I want the next game, this last game, I want you to concentrate on communicating whenever that ball comes over. Remember, your job is to high enough into the opposition's half so they can try and volley it back. If they fail as the ball stops, that's on them. Got it?
So because you guys are communicating, all right, so you need to get at least 2 passes on your team before you can volley to the other side. Right? So if I pass to Alexi, that's 1, he has to get to another person, then it can go over the imaginary net to the other side. Sounds good?
Ready?
Alexi! Oh, man.
this is borderline higher end of utilization, lower end proficiency. That's another observation here. So the enthusiasm is good, activity time is good. They were prepared. The activity still counts as utilization, even though this became a little bit more challenging. So it's more on the proficiency level. The demonstrations and the cues, they needed some fine tuning. Why? Because the demonstration needed to emphasize that shifting of the arms. When it comes to the direction of the ball, because that's what you were looking for, right? And the same thing here. In here now, it's lower end proficiency, because now what you're looking for is that if you want to keep a rally, then it just depends. And I was not very clear about that. Be very careful also with those. You just.
Have one ball between your two teams. You're with your team. Mr. Patrick's going to join this team, so we're even. Okay, so now we're going to still focus on volleying. We're just going to add one more thing we learned. Remember at our last lesson, our spikes. Now we're going to bring that in. Okay, so we know our bump, we know our set, nice and light off the fingertips. Now we have your spike. Okay, so if you guys remember, you're throwing the ball up. You're like an archer position, right? It looks like they have a bow and arrow.
Without a net, this might be a problem. So I'm already predicting that.
Does that make sense? So what do you guys think would be good? If I spike it to Abby, what do you think would be another one of our positions to be in?
You have to be very, very careful. I'm hoping that this is going to be, they're going to be combining all of them out together. Because without a net, there's no point of reference. And if the ball goes straight to a student, then that'd be a safety issue. And I'm not hearing a safety precaution here, or to use a point of reference. Unless the modification is that it's going to bounce right in front of you, but that was not said. Okay, so that's another.
Remember, 2 passes on your side before you can hit it over. Ready? Go.
Okay, so that's a rule. That's a rule. Yeah. So a few observations. One is about the singling out that jumping jacks that they were doing. As a consequence, try to stay away from that. You need to be very clear about what is the demand of the class, of the task. Okay, well, that spike was there, is what they asked for. Okay. In this case, I don't know if the students are aware, but you cannot expect this in a 6th grade class, 7th grade class. You're going to see somebody that already wants to go and hit somebody. So that's why it's something that you need to make sure you have a point of reference, and that safety precautions are in there. The demonstrations were clear, but again, they needed to emphasize what I am suggesting about the, and also suggesting what is required when it comes to the cues.
Okay, but you're adding up those 2 points from their passes. Does that make sense? So now you have 3 points. Does that make sense, everyone?
So they hit 2 with it over on 4 now.
Right. So every time you hit the ball, it's a point, and every time the opposite team drops your ball, it's also a point.
Gotcha.
So you're going to be adding up your points, okay?
Gotcha. That's soft.
So we just do it over and then.
Nice. We got 1 point. My bad, team. These corduroy pants, nice. Get it over. He's gonna go in. He ain't say nothing about no legal issue. We got 5 so far. We got 5.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a repetition of what is going on. So the observations remain the same. Just that the rules were set and the spike was introduced, but the requirement there is pretty much the same.
Next points win, okay? Add up your points.
We have 12.
We got 5 right now.
And also they're playing, but the cues are not necessarily emphasized that much. So to be more talkative, Patrick O,
Keep it up, keep it up. Nice.
Kaitlyn as well.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Need to we're just observing the game. Patrick here is saying the cues, even though there's not the specific cues are required for the lesson. So some observations, it's a good lesson. It's at the level, maybe a little bit more challenging, towards the end of it.
Thank you for participating.
But
In your groups, I want you guys
room for
to
improvement.
talk about these questions that we're going to go over. First of all, out of the 4 types of exercise, cardiovascular, strength, flexibility, and balance, which one would you say is the most important for volleyball, and why? I'll give you guys a couple minutes.
And now that I look at the board over there, if you look at the board over here, if they were following this, for the type of demand for the lesson, you can see that this is a lead with shoulders, flat wrist. Maybe that lead with shoulders one could have been one that is exactly what I am referring to, as they are practicing the skill. Under the ball, light touch, fingertips. This is still control level, pretty much. Maybe under the ball will be the only one that will be there, but it's coming from control. Spike, archer, flick of the wrist, eye on the ball. Again, point of reference in what I said before. So this is also another clear syntax here that that demand of the task was missing from
you are either flexing or extending your shoulder.
missing from the lesson itself.
I think extending, I don't know.
Flexing. There you go. All right, so in your teams, I want you guys to explain one of the techniques for either the bump set or the spike facing the bleachers. Facing the bleachers, guys, explaining the techniques for the bump set or the spike. I don't want you guys looking at the board over here.
Why is spiking flexing my shoulder?
Going down. This would be extending backwards, flexing down. So Adam, I can't turn over, Adam. I see you looking. For the bump set and the spike, you guys can choose one and explain the techniques for it. Ball.
Hands pumped out in front.
Yes, sir.
Hands extended. Yep.
Amazing. We want to use our shoulders.
Finish chest chin.
Perfect. Perfect. Hey, I like it. I like it over here. All right, guys. That about wraps it up here. Thank you very much for participating. You guys are great.